On the Ides of March, 44 BC, after months of planning while at the Curia of Pompey in Rome, a group of senators fatally stabbed the oblivious Roman dictator Julius Caesar 23 times. On April 14, 1865, John Wilkes Booth and other Southern sympathizers attempted to execute their plan of assassinating President Lincoln, General Grant, Vice President Johnson, and State Secretary Seward. They partially succeeded as they shot Lincoln while he was attending the Ford's Theater, ultimately leading to his death on the following day, April 15th. Conspiracies have forever existed alongside society. It's inevitable that with the want for more power, people will secretly enact disturbing plans to obtain it. And with abundant history of conspiracy theories in the past, people start to theorize about the current, and people start to fear that they are being lied to. What if NASA is hiding the fact that the moon landing was fake? What if plane contrails are actually chemtrails? What if man-made climate change was made up so some people could make some extra money? What if Bush orchestrated 9/11 to start a war in the Middle East? What if the CIA assassinated JFK? What if the Earth is not a sphere, but instead it's flat? What if the COVID vaccine is harmful and the government knows? What if aliens are real and the government knows? What if the Illuminati is real? What if the government is all secretly lizard-human hybrids dead set on destroying humanity? Are all of these conspiracy theories true? Probably not. Probably not, no. Now, you may be asking yourself, how do so many people believe these seemingly unbelievable claims? How are they created, and how do they spread? Well, I was asking myself the same questions earlier this year, and I was dead set on answering them. Now it's time for my investigation. As everyone knows, Sun Tzu once said, "Know thy enemy and know yourself. In 100 battles you will never be in peril." And I've lived by that my entire life, and I especially took that to heart here as I started to investigate. In order to know conspiracy theories, I had to first uncover the definition. And I found that the definition of conspiracy theory could be as simple as a theory revolving around a conspiracy, but there can be a definition that much more accurately describes its use in modern culture. But in order to apply that more accurate definition to the term, you need to imply that the theory is of false nature or is at least unlikely to be true. The definition is more accurate due to the popular, both scholarly and everyday, idea of a conspiracy theory, which is that conspiracy theories often tie together unrelated facts and events, leading to false theories. I found the recorded use of the term only really dates back to around the 1860s. The term continued to grow in notability as it was used in many reports surrounding the assassination of President Garfield, though it wasn't until JFK's assassination in 1963 that the term gained popularity and recognition from everyday people. It gained popularity alongside the JFK assassination case, as many conspiracy theories surrounding his death started to grow and gain mainstream attention. Ironically enough, another conspiracy theory which developed around the case was that the CIA created the term conspiracy theory to try and diminish the claims made by conspiracy theorists. As you can see from the advancement of the term during points of political and social crisis such as JFK's assassination, unrest and distrust in society leads to the spread of conspiracy theories. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, the fact that widespread anxiety leads to more conspiracy theories suggests that conspiratorial thinking is driven by a strong human desire to make sense of social forces that are self-relevant, important, and threatening. That being said, it isn't always a crisis that creates conspiracy theories, such as the moon landing being a hoax or the earth being flat. Another reason for distrust can be ascertained from the inequality embedded within social stratification. As a result of the inequality, people feel as though they have been wronged in one way or another, potentially leading them to try and demonize whoever or whatever they have been wronged by. Consistently, though, the one thing that is always present in the basis of any conspiracy is the aforementioned distrust, which can be of any kind in society and or the government. With the aid of this distrust, these virus-like conspiracy theories have infected the minds of more and more people throughout not only our nation, but the world as a whole. Talking about viruses, it just so happens that when a viral pandemic emerges, there are waves of societal and political change in discourse throughout our nation. During the COVID pandemic, the drastic changes to life that occurred, along with the very real crisis that was the pandemic itself, cultivated nationwide institutional distrust and paranoia. This political and societal turbulence led to conspiratorial thinking, most notably surrounding the pandemic. This time of great turmoil did not only solely foster conspiracies surrounding the pandemic, though, but instead conspiracy theories as a whole saw noticeable growth in believers. As shown in these polls taken by YouGov Cambridge, many already well-known conspiracy theories grew in popularity over the course of the first 2 years of the pandemic. Even though the conspiracy theories weren't revolving around the current pandemic, the fact that it was a crisis still triggered the response by many people to indulge in conspiratorial thinking. On top of that, the pandemic also created additional troubles and effects that other past crises would not have placed on people, such as quarantines. Also, I just really wanted to talk about these polls really quick, because I feel like most people don't really understand the sheer magnitude of which there are conspiracy theorists in our country. Like, this is nuts. This is actually crazy. There are 28% of people that think vaccines have harmful side effects that are being withheld from the public. 20% of people think that man-made global warming was made up to deceive people. 17% think that the national tragedy that was 9/11 happened to be an inside job. That's also not counting the other 25% that said it could go either way when asked about 9/11. Those aren't even the most crazy mainstream conspiracy theories either. I'd leave that title to
QAnon.
QAnon.
QAnon. QAnon.
QAnon.
QAnon.
The alt-right conspiracy theory QAnon originated in 2017 on 4chan forum boards, and it revolves around an anonymous user who claims to have Q access, which is a real top-level security clearance in the US government. This man, who subsequently goes by the name Q or QAnon, sends varyingly cryptic messages in Q drops to his followers in the forum, who then go on to decipher them. The core belief held by followers is that there is a secret, satanic, cannibalistic, child-molesting cabal that is controlling the government, and that ex-President Trump and his administration will save everyone and conduct thousands of arrests and executions in a predicted event, supposedly called the Storm. The supposed cabal includes the likes of many Democrats such as Hillary and George Clinton, Barack Obama, and many other high-ranking government officials and many celebrities. Surprisingly, that isn't even scratching the surface of the many outrageous claims made by Q and his followers. Another claim some followers like to make is that JFK Jr. faked his death and will eventually return and help lead the storm to end the cabal. To the average person, or sheeple, as followers would refer to someone who doesn't believe in QAnon, these claims are absolutely abhorrent and seemingly impossible to believe. Surprisingly, though, despite the almost cartoonish lengths the claims will go to, as of 2021, 17% of US citizens believed them, and that number very well may have increased since then. But in the end, scholarly research wasn't enough for a detective like me. Even though I got my answer, I needed to do more digging to know exactly how a conspiracy theory could infect the mind of somebody. And that's when I knew it. I knew what I had to do. I had to get my hands dirty, and I had to interview a conspiracy theorist. This is Bill Holloway, someone who many people would call a conspiracy theorist. Holloway is an expert on the JFK assassination, even writing a book about it and doing many interviews with witnesses and people related to the case. It also just so happens his beliefs around the case vary from that of the accepted government version. Also, he used to teach in my school, so that made it a lot easier to interview him, because I don't really have that many ties to conspiracy theorists, you know? There was this one girl's dad, but he left me on red for a week, and I didn't want to, like, ask her to be like, hey, can you make your dad respond to me? Because, like, I feel like it's kind of weird. So, I didn't do that. Anyways, here's the thing. As I was saying, he used to work at my school, and while teaching, one of his classes wanted to research the JFK assassination. This sparked him down a road of heavily researching the case, and eventually he came to the conclusion that the government-accepted Warren report on the JFK assassination is false. While you were researching this, right, you said you started out already somewhat knowing about the assassination before you did
I was born, I was 13 years old when I
Right.
wasn't born. I was born in 1950, so I was 13 years old when it happened.
Yeah.
So just a few years younger than you are.
Mm-hmm.
And television was fairly new. We hadn't had a television in our home for very long. And so school was let out early.
Mm-hmm.
And we went home. And President Kennedy was very popular among young people. And I watched on Friday afternoon, November 22, while they tried to put together the information to say what happened. And the question for us is, who's feeding the news media the information?
Were you interested in kind of going deeper into this when that was happening, or did it take until you started researching it for school that you really started thinking, there's something going on here that isn't what the government says? Or was that always something in your mind?
In those days, it was a different era. Today, everything the government does comes under scrutiny.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
Don't
Yeah.
trust it. It's a government, right?
Yeah.
In my day, that wasn't the case. It was the opposite. If this was USDA inspected, that food is safe.
Right.
If this drug is being administered to a wide percentage of the American population, and it's USDA, United States Drug, then it was gospel. This is what they told us.
Wow.
The television told you.
Mm-hmm.
The information was released through the government and authorities.
Yeah.
You trusted them.
Do you think it's good that we're more skeptical of the government now?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Accept nothing at face value, especially in your age, with internet and falsification of. You could be torn apart as an individual. So, trust nothing.
Yeah.
Including what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Go find out for yourself.
Yeah. How do you feel about the term conspiracy theorist? Because when you said that term, you kind of did the air quotes.
I don't like the word theorist.
Right.
Yeah, or conspiracy nut. Anybody who believes anything other than an official report, usually by the United States government, is targeted as a theorist.
Yeah.
There is a small army of very devoted researchers who have unearthed factual information.
So do you not have like one very solid belief of what happened? Are you kind of open to many different ideas of what could have gone on? Or
I will tell you that Lee Harvey Oswald absolutely unequivocally did not shoot President Kennedy alone.
right.
In my personal situation, after years of research, he wasn't even in that sixth floor window.
Wow.
There was more than one person in that plaza that day.
You know, there are some people that even when presented with these facts, they say, I think the Warren report was correct, or at least very correct.
I don't mean this to be flippant, but usually those are people who aren't fully informed.
Right.
That's all. It's not their fault. They're not on the side.
Yeah.
I don't think of it as this side and that side. A guy named Gerald Posner wrote a book called Case Closed, in which he lays out definitively that Lee Harvey Oswald did it all alone.
Right.
But the research critics, so-called conspiracy theorists, have just torn his book apart.
Did you ever find yourself researching any other conspiracy theories? Was there any other event that sparked your interest? Like,
Let me identify a conspiracy. You
Yeah.
can stop using the word theory.
Right.
My choice, not yours.
No,
You can stay with theory
all
if
right,
you want.
all right.
If you and I talk together about assassinating that woman in the next room,
Yeah.
we have a conspiracy.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it alone.
Mm-hmm.
You and I are doing it.
Right.
If there's a second person, a second organization, more than one person, you have a conspiracy. There's no theory.
Mm-hmm.
You and I are plotting it.
Yeah.
The police report may say that the woman committed she committed suicide.
Yeah.
But we know better
Right.
because we killed her.
Yeah.
It was our plot.
We did not kill a woman in the other room. Just wanted to make that clear. That didn't happen. Anyways, let's go back to this smoothly worded question by yours truly. As you said in your mind, it's abundantly clear that this is true. So, do you feel like everybody that is still under the idea that it was one person, worked alone, just Lee Harvey Oswald, is misinformed, or do you think that they're even if they have researched all this stuff, do you think they could still be or could they still have the idea that Lee Harvey Oswald worked alone after learning all this evidence? Do you think that they would, I don't know how to phrase it.
They couldn't practically
Yeah.
believe that Oswald acted alone just on the basis of information that
Mhm.
I've shared with you here today.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it can be backed up.
Like people
No,
forget.
I look at them like, okay, that's your conclusion.
Right.
I mean, if you have all this information and you still conclude
Mhm.
that and think that people are making this up, well, that's your prerogative.
Yeah. And you don't judge them at all for
No,
that?
why?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's their prerogative.
Yeah. So you seem like you're pretty
Uh-oh.
non-judgmental.
Oh, yeah, I try not to. I
Right.
was a teacher.
Yeah. Right.
And if you wanted to come at me and say, you're not very conservative,
Yeah.
I would say, lay it on.
Yeah.
Let's see a more conservative viewpoint of this.
Mhm.
Put it out there.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's your viewpoint.
Yeah. How do you feel about people, not even teachers in general, just people kind of putting their views onto other people and trying to convert them to whatever ideology they believe in?
I'm not so much interested in converting somebody else. I might resent that, but I should hear your opinion.
Yeah.
You may, when we're done here, say, I'm going to turn the camera off now, Holiday. Sorry about your audience here. You may have to do a clip, but, Holiday, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
I don't believe a damn thing you've said here
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So, and I'd be good with that.
Yeah.
That would be okay.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to look at things.
Well, that's how I look at things anyway.
Yeah. Is there anything that would ever make you change your idea? Is there, say,
On the Kennedy assassination?
say-
There could be. I
Yeah.
don't know what it would be.
how do you feel when people oppose your ideas around the JFK assassination?
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Have you had people kind of be more aggressive and get
No.
mad? It's always pretty civil when you have discussions about it.
Yes.
That's good. That's
Yes.
good. Do you think that there's like
They may be somewhat intimidated because they think, gee, this guy knows more than I do.
Yeah.
So how can I?
Right.
But if you read Posner's book or
Mhm.
Bugliosi's book, you might say, what about this?
Hmm. How would you feel if it was a more kind of aggressive opposition to your ideas?
That would be okay too.
Hmm.
That would be okay too. Geez, that's very interesting what you're saying. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe it for these reasons. But you've impressed me. You've done some work. You've come to a different conclusion than I have, or 85% of the American
Yeah.
people have.
I think I really admire your point of view here,
Well,
and thank you a lot.
Yeah.
It was great talking to you, and
Yeah.
I really
Likewise.
appreciate it.
likewise.
Thank you.
I can tell you're interested.
It was great talking to you. This interview threw a wrench in my gears. I was expecting a closed-minded conspiracy theorist, maybe bumbling about alien probes or something like that, but instead I talked to a really intelligent and open-minded person. While I am slightly disappointed I didn't get a funny interview with a conspiracy theorist talking about like lizard hybrid people or something like that, talking to Mr. Holiday was much more helpful than that could have ever been. And talking to him confirmed that distrust is the leading cause of conspiracy theories, as it was obvious that he didn't trust the government that much, and albeit that isn't necessarily a bad thing. This interview also made me realize that conspiracy theories didn't have to be demonized, and neither did conspiracy theorists. Looking back on my research, I realized I may have been adding on to that idea that conspiracy theories are harmful to society. Granted, sometimes they are, but not always. I also found myself even kind of believing the conspiracy that Mr. Holloway was telling me. I guess it's time to be true to myself, so. After all my detective work, I finally found the answers to what I was looking for. I learned that conspiracy theories are able to spread and thrive through societal distrust and paranoia. As conspiratorial thinking disseminates, people's instilled suspicions of power are brought to the forefront of their minds, leading to the even further progression and societal spread of such thinking. This can lead to theories ranging from believing that Lee Harvey Oswald didn't act alone in the assassination of JFK, all the way to believing that our government is run by lizard-people hybrids. Whether or not the theories have any real merit, time and time again, they are able to propagate throughout society. I feel more importantly, though, that I learned that the term conspiracy theory can also be harmful when weaponized by people to discredit opposing beliefs. Just because someone has beliefs that differ from the government or differ from the majority of the population doesn't mean that they are a conspiracy nut. Funny enough, the most meaningful thing I'm taking away from my research was said by someone who, sadly, some people may call a conspiracy nut. Anything left that you want to say? Is there anything that you want to put in the video that you think would be important for people to see? Or?
Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions. Don't let me, or Mr. Dean, or Ms. Anders, or Ms. Levesque, they have an enormous amount to offer you. But you don't have to take it all as gospel.
Mm-hmm.
You have a right to disagree with it respectfully. You have a right to share your opinion when warranted. And it really carries some weight if you can back it up with a little research. Look what I found. That's your